redundant with your reactive elements. That's a very challenging deck to beat.
So on the left here, we have a face that you guys are probably likely familiar with, and Braun Duin. And he is playing, as we just spoke of, he is playing Bug. He has been one of the people who's been championing this deck. His version has more Planeswalkers than most. He has, of course, 4 of the Jason Mind Sculptor. He also has 2 Liliana Veil and Garruk Relentless. Then you are going to find those cards we spoke of, Deathrite Shaman, Tarmogoyf, and 4 copies of Abrupt Decay here.
And on your right, you see Auton Kotov, who is also playing Bug Control, but curiously enough, no copies of Deathrite Shaman to be found in this deck. Just Tombstalker, Vendilion Click, Snapcaster Mage, and Scavenging Ooze. Some Planeswalkers, a couple copies of Innocent Blood, some soft counters, discard, Pernicious Steed. So definitely we've seen this deck over the years multiple times, but we haven't really seen this build since Deathrite Shaman has been a feature of the format.
Yeah. So it's kind of old school versus new school here, if you will. Brian's deck list has 3 copies of Wasteland. It also has 3 Mishra's Factories and has 2 copies of Life from the Loam. So he kind of tries to attack your lands as well here and uses his own lands to his advantage. There's a Creeping Tar Pit. There aren't any other value lands. You're not going to find a card like Volrash Stronghold or some of the other kind of cool lands that you can play in Legacy. Just straightforward stuff with Wasteland and Mishra's Factory to go with his Life from the Loams.
Also noteworthy is Auton Kotov is actually from Russia. There was a couple of Russian IQs, invitational qualifiers, and made the trip all the way from Russia.
Branching out.
Yeah.
Branching out.
Little international flair, these events.
Yeah, who wants to win the invitational? They're becoming like small pro tours.
Yes.
They really are. We'll have Kenji here in no time to just win and take everything from us like he used to many years ago.
Yeah, we could use a good, 19-0/38-0 tournament at one of our.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just run it straight through.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm curious to see what provoked Auton to sort of move into. Deathrite Shaman's been the talk of the format since Return to Ravnica has come out, and eschewing that card, I'm sure it can't be for no reason, right?
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a reason. It's a conscious decision, as we see at Thoughtseize here from Brian. We see a bunch of Abrupt Decays, a Force of Will, a Tombstalker, and some lands. So,
Tombstalker definitely an awesome threat if people are moving to Abrupt Decay as their removal suite.
Now, it's an interesting keep here, and it's kind of interesting. As we said, it's kind of new school versus old school here. Auton's deck list has 4 copies of Force of Will. Brian's, none.
Yes,
which is surprising. I mean, you play blue, you play Force of Will. It's like a rule, an unwritten rule of Legacy, whereas he actually only has 2 counter spells, and then discard and the creatures and the Planeswalkers. So actual no copies of Force of Will here.
Well, the deck definitely has a bunch of green and black cards, so Force of Will is no free roll. Additionally, unless you're heavily metagaming for a combo field, it's possible that he would rather just lean on his discard, which is good against a variety of opponents, and maybe sideboard some Force of Wills or similar cards for the dedicated combo matchups. So both players here happy to play just draw go for a little bit. We have a Deathrite Shaman.
No, we have an Inquisition.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I thought he drew one, so I thought we were... And we have a response here. We're going to sack our 2 fetch lands. Brian with Counterspell backup in case anything goes awry. You also see 1 copy of Garruk Relentless in Brian's hand. This is another card that sort of picked up in popularity over the last couple of weeks. I think a lot of it as an answer for the mirror match. It's very good at killing Deathrite Shamans, and then is a pretty impressive threat on its own after that.
Yeah, just generating all sorts of value, kind of playing a makeshift Elspeth. Not as good, of course, but it kind of does different things through than Elspeth.
So, Anton going to go pick up some Black Border Duels. We'll see what the response is to this Inquisition in a moment. A Vendilion Click.
Okay.
Brian reaching for his Polluted Delta, so I assume we're going to see a counterspell momentarily.
Going old school.
Yeah.
Just flat counterspell. Nothing cute. No miscalculation. No memory lapse. No cute cards. Just actual counterspell.
Counter target spell. Taking us back to a simpler time.
I miss those days.
That is the charm of Legacy. You can relive your youth.
Brian says it's time for Vendilion Click to leave, if you don't mind.
I'm curious to see if we're going to force back on this counterspell.
This would be quite the battle over this sort of card, and it looks like...
Yeah. Anton's hand is just 2 Force of Wills and 2 Abrupt Decays, so I think he has to fight over this because his hand's just too bad otherwise.
Yeah, we see a Force of Will. And we know Brian doesn't have access to any in his main deck. Of course, Anton doesn't know that, but we are going to see Vendilion Click. Upstairs we go.
And you're going to see Maelstrom Pulse, Abrupt Decay, Garrick, and Wasteland. So plenty of redundant answers for that.
The thing that's a little bit interesting to me, Patrick, and you can obviously disagree, is just fighting over Vendilion Click in this particular matchup doesn't really seem like something that you really want to do. And the reason I say that is just because there are so many different ways for the bug control decks to kill it. I mean, there's Uncounterable Ways and Abrupt Decay. You know, there can be cards like Innocent Blood. In Brian's case, he has Garrick and Maelstrom Pulse. So there are so many different ways, Ghastly Demise, if people are playing that, to kill this creature. That kind of fighting over this and, you know, Force of Will and, like, kind of losing all the cards is really worth it just to get the 3-1 in play that's probably not going to live.
Well, I think it's correct for Anton to be forcing back here because his hand's just too bad. It's just nice for him to be able to click here.
Sure.
From Brian's perspective, I like the counterspell because that means you get to play, if your counterspell actually resolves, then you get to play your Garrick uncontested next turn, and then you have a lot of insurance. So I like it from both players' perspective. I don't think it's so much being worried about the Vendilion Click, about just the way their hands are specifically situated. Anton's hand was just too bad.
Sure.
Just got to fight over something, you know? Might as well be a card that can allow him to provide some disruption, or if Brian's hand is especially bad, maybe just clock him a bunch.
So Anton's draw step last turn was a Force of Will, and it's kind of, again, kind of the new school, old school vibe that we're playing on here. You can see, like, how mediocre Force of Will is here, where it's kind of nice that Brian doesn't have that card in his deck. You know, Counterspell served its purpose. It was a 1-for-1, whereas Force of Will is a 2-for-1 on yourself. And, you know, Force of Will, it didn't really accomplish what it needed to, and now Anton is just kind of behind on cards. You know, he has the Vendilion Click that's hoping it can do something, even though there's an Abrupt Decay. So, just like the way with how grindy the matchup is, this isn't really where Force of Will is at its best.
Yeah. It is definitely a sacred cow to a lot of people, but I think there's plenty of matchups where it just isn't particularly good, and we're seeing one right now.
Well, if you're expecting a lot of bug, like moving forward in the tournaments, I can easily see like just not playing Force of Will in your main deck and just moving it to your sideboard for those combo matchups.
Yep. It's and definitely Click is also a little bit dodgy in Lingering Souls world too. I mean, it used to be sort of a general all-purpose utility creature, but I think given the structure of the Esper Blade decks and the bug decks, that it's basically an anti-combo card at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think it's very good in these kind of matchups anymore, where it was once upon a time.
Yeah. As we see, the Abrupt Decay took care of the Vendilion Click that we knew about, and Anton, of course, knew that was coming. But now, it's just kind of like, all right, well, there's a Tarmogoyf. We know that there's a Garrick Relentless over there. We see the Wasteland from Brian that can kind of mess up the mana base a little bit. Yeah, I don't want to pronounce a game over, of course, because we have a long way to go, but, I mean, things are looking very, very difficult here for Anton.
He's going to respond to this Wasteland with a Vendilion Click. And we'll see what response we get out of Brian here. I gotta say, I would not mind playing Burn against these decks.
Yeah, I bet. Deathbright Shaman doesn't scare you at all either?
Not really, no.
I didn't really think so. It's a pretty big investment, right?
I'm watching all these like juicy non-basics and these board control cards and just no counters and all these thought seizes, and I mean, I got the box behind me. Part of me wants to just hop in for a round or two. They don't even have to count. They don't even have to just let me get in some reps.
A friendly challenge.
Yeah,
that's all. Show you guys what you're missing. As we see a brainstorm here from Brian in response to Vendilion, like gonna, maybe hide some cards. Maybe put a card on top that he wants to draw. There is no fetch land in play, so he doesn't have the great interaction there yet, but does probably want to hide some information. So we're gonna see Abrupt Decay with the trigger on the stack. And here you go.
You may take this useless Pernicious Deed, or you may keep it. And yeah, Anton having none of that, he's just going to let him keep the deed.
Yeah. The Wasteland is gone. And we do see a Tarmogoyf is a 4/5 right now, and just pass it back.
Yeah, and I think Brian's going to be able to almost certainly untap and land Garrick. And Although Creeping Tar Pit, a nice draw against that to break up the Planeswalker.
Yeah, a good draw post Wasteland. So long as Auton has another land, he's doing okay. Not great, of course. Still has to be able to deal with this Tarmogoyf and the Wolf token that Garrett will likely make. But, I mean, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, this has got to be super frustrating for Brian because he sculpted this game so nicely to just be about Garrick on stable board and just ride that. And now that Creeping Tar Pit makes it much more challenging.
Yeah.
You see he's not even willing to commit his Garrick. He's going to set up Deed so he can try to Deed for 0 and land Garrick the following turn.
Yep. As we do see Tarmogoyf just coming across. Pernicious Deed back in the day. That one is an oldie but a goodie. One of the cool interactions with that, as we see Tarmogoyf die, is that you cannot kill your own planeswalkers with it.
I actually thought
I want to be wrong about that.
I actually thought the cool interaction with it was that you could regenerate your Spirit Monger. I think
I
thought that was the reference.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. That's a dream world.
Yeah. And now you're about to see the Garrick. And Brian set this up very nicely because he had the Deed even though he knew about Abrupt Decay. And so now he gets he got to lead with that decay before he attacked it to have information on how he wants to sculpt the game out. If Anton's happy to Abrupt Decay the Tarmogoyf, then we can go on we can set, have our Deed at 0 as insurance and have Garrick take over the game. If Auton is going to Abrupt Decay the Pernicious Deed, then you can just try to ride your Tarmogoyf to victory.
Yeah.
So we had 2 different paths you could pursue based on what angle Auton decided to take. And now Garrick is in play.
We'll have a Wolf token join us in just a moment. Of course, nothing to fight. And just passing back. And now, yeah, interestingly enough, I mean, as you said at the top, it is kind of interesting to see this card. I don't want to say dominating Legacy or anything, but it's having an impact.
Oh,
we didn't think it would beforehand.
Yeah, no, I mean, these control decks are just, they're in, and Chase is the best example of this. They're looking for cards that can both provide utility, defend themselves, and also just win the game on their own.
Yeah.
Once you're at the 4-mana land. No one's going to confuse Garrick with Jace, but Garrick can fill a different style of that effect.
Yeah.
And killing Deathrite Shaman is also pretty awesome, given the way these mirror matches are.
And especially, and you bring up that it kills Deathrite Shaman, then it flips into its other half, and then it's able to make those Death Touch tokens, which lets you trade favorably with Tarmogoyf, which is a really kind of unique interaction, as we do see a Tarmogoyf here from Brian. There's just a lot going on, and with a card that has that much text like Garrick does, it's surprising because you think of it as a standard card, but once you kind of dig a little bit deeper, it's not too surprising to see a card like this have success in Legacy, just because there's so much that the card can do.
Yep. No end of utility, and often with these Planeswalkers, it's just waiting for the metagame to be in a particular spot where it's plus power and it's first minus power are productive things to be doing.
Yeah.
And Garrick appears to be, at least for the time being, in that spot, and you're seeing it, do a number of this game.
Auton looking over his options. You see it, Innocent Blood. There is a Force of Will as well. I believe there's a blue card hanging out as well. Not quite sure.
I believe it is Snapcaster Mage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, Innocent Blood looking just very bad right now.
And Brian's deck just looking so much more efficient for the mirror match in this game. I mean, there's no fat here. Every card he's played has been awesome. Whereas, Anton's been trying to cobble together one for once and defend himself where he can. And
yeah.
Brian is just doing his thing.
And you did know that, kind of walking into this tournament, I mean, this certainly helped with me just talking to the players last night and this morning. Just it seemed like, the people couldn't really give a good reason or great reason why Bug is the deck to beat. It doesn't scream the power level of like a Storm deck or any of the combo decks in the format. But, it's just a good deck. There's just a lot of good things going on, kind of like in the same mold of a Rug Delver. It's just a good deck that just does proactive things.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the kind of deck that people felt that was, one of the decks that they'd have to be prepared for to beat in the tournament. And, I mean, you can tell right now with the way that Brian has built his deck that was, it seems like his first line of thinking. I'm going to have to be able to beat the mirror once, maybe 2 times this weekend.
There's no question that what he has, I mean, he even has Loam Wasteland as a backup engine. That's incredible in the mirror. You know? Like, look at Anton's lands. That's just another incidental angle that Brian has afforded to him here.
Yeah, these Bug decks very often, they do not play like any basics. They may play 1. If you're looking at Brian's deck list, he doesn't have any. That's not really much of a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to be able to play, Liliana and Jace and a bunch of green cards unless you are just willing to play just all fetches and duels.
Yeah.
I mean, Auton actually does have 4 Swamp Island in his deck.
Wow.
And 2 Creeping Tar Pits, which is impressive. It looks like he's mostly... I guess he's shaved out some fetches. He has only 8, it looks like. So a little lighter than you would usually see on these decks.
So we are going to see Snapcaster Mage here, Abrupt Decaying, and then getting in front of a Wolf token. So trying to stave off elimination as best he can. But again, without any real permanent answer for that Garruk, that's the kind of card that's just going to dominate. It's going to take a little while, of course, but it's the kind of card that just dominates a board state. And so does that one.
Yeah, we've seen this before.
Yeah.
If you're new to Legacy, Jace the Mind Sculptor on a stable board means the game is almost certainly over.
Yeah.
So we'll just wait for Brian to sort of go about his business, brainstorming. I mean, he actually could just pick a mode at random from here. It'd be fine. Fade Sealing himself, or Auton, or brainstorming. I guess on summoning the wolf is bad, but that's pretty much...
Well, that's just like taking a challenge, right? See exactly how good Jace is.
Yeah. And Auton seeing the writing on the wall here.
Yeah, just, kind of going through the motions here. I mean, plenty of time left in the round. There's no real reason to concede at this point. Just, he can likely get some more information, but the game is basically over with Jace and Garruk in play and no real answer. Auton comes to that realization and does scoop it up.
Yeah, it's surprising to me that some of these, I guess, I don't know what the opportunity cost is of adding another color, but these bug control mirrors, it seems like they're so soft to planeswalkers that there's got to be some card you could add. I don't know if it has to be, maybe you have to move into white for Vindicate or something, but...
You get a little spicy. You play like Dreadbore.
Sure.
You can splash red for that. I don't know what else red would give you. There's like Red Elemental Blast and, who knows what else, but you can get a little spicy. I mean, Legacy lets you do some things with your mana.
Yeah, I mean, all these matches I see, it's one of them, in these mirror matches, someone lands a Planeswalker and the other guy's like, all right, I'm dead, I guess. I don't know. I didn't see this coming. I didn't think anyone was going to cast Jace, so who knew, All right, sideboard.
You have Antons in front of you. What's saving him?
He's got some gas. I mean, he's got a couple copies of Surgical Extraction, a Garruk the Relentless, another Scavenging Ooze, a Thoughtseize, a Duress, a Life from the Loam. He's got a bunch of weird one-ofs that all seem very well suited to playing some sort of grindy attrition game. So I would expect, certainly the Loam is awesome. Garruk, as we saw, very good. And then I don't know how he wants to mix up the spot removal. I would probably bring in Extraction because the odds, I mean, when 2 control decks and Legacy play against each other, it's very natural to try to move more into getting value out of your graveyard as a space to go to because the game goes on for a long time. So I would be inclined to bring in Surgical Extraction here as well.
And taking a look at Brian's deck list, and as you went over Anton's, he does have the Life in the Loam of the Garruk Relentless, and it just kind of harps on our point of, Brian, you can already tell that he built his deck with the mirror in mind, and then you look at Anton's deck list of bringing in Garruk and bringing in, Thoughtseize and stuff that, he knows that the mirror exists, but he is not tailor-made for it as Brian is, which doesn't surprise me that Brian won Game 1, and Brian actually has even more cards to bring in for this particular matchup. He has a Sylvan Library, which is a fantastic tool in this matchup to just make sure you're always finding your best cards. He has 2 copies of Endilion Click, which is a card that Auton is starting. He has 2 copies of, but Brian does not have 2 copies of. There's also an additional Thoughtseize. There's also an interesting card here in Dark Blast, which has a roundabout way of taking care of Endilion Click, Snapcaster Mage, so Deathrite Shaman if Auton had them. So I'm not sure if those are going to come in, but I mean, it's definitely an option. And I assume all these Planeswalkers are going to stay here in the main deck for Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I do expect Dark Blast to come in as well. Anytime you can mill yourself for value when you have Snapcaster Mage, Deathrite Shaman, and Life from the Loam as an even more devastating card to put in your graveyard to get your Wasteland loop going, I would expect that to come in as well.
Yeah, it's almost too good to pass up, honestly. I mean, other cards that can come out, it's debatable. He has like 2 copies of Counterspell, even though Counterspell looked pretty good that game. He has 1 Pernicious Deed, which, looked fine that game. I don't know if it's the kind of card you want in a grindy matchup. He has 1 Inquisition, 4 Thoughtseizes. Maybe he swaps out an Inquisition for the 4 Thoughtseize, what have you. He's a Maelstrom Pulse, maybe not that great here with the other options available. But some things are going to be moving in and out here. But I think that, Brian's deck, again, is just incredibly well set up for the mirror.
You know what card I think is stanky in the mirror?
Do tell.
I think Tarmogoyf is stanky in the mirror.
Just because it dies?
Just doesn't do anything and dies. If they have 1, nothing happens. If they have Abrupt Decay in your otherwise permanent light deck, it just dies. and you can afford to take a hit or two because you have no reach. So that would be the card I would go to. It's possible your opponent's deciding in more removal spells anyway. So
You think you can just break that rule? Just board out Tarmogoyf, you're a tough guy?
I board out Goyf all the time.
It's like a Rune Legacy. It's just like if it's in your deck, it's just got to stay.
It's just not true.
All
it's
right.
simply not true. You want to have your Tarmogoyfs against Innocent Blood, Abrupt Decay guy, be my guest, but I'd rather try to just lean on the Planeswalkers and your Loam Wasteland play to win the game. Those seem like much better paths to victory than attacking for 4 or 5 times against a all cantrip and kill spell deck.
Yeah, trying to steal one with the old Goyf.
Right.
Doesn't seem like the best plan. No, I don't disagree with you at all. I'll be interested to see if either player does board them out.
Well, Auton actually doesn't have them at all. He's just on Tombstalker, Click, Snapcaster, Ooze. And all those cards are probably... I mean, Click is not great here, but it still provides some amount of flexibility and utility and disruption, whereas Tarmogoyf is literally just an attacker and blocker.
Yeah. I mean, that one's very interesting to me. Not having Deathrite Shaman is, one thing. I mean, that's, it's whatever. Maybe you just haven't had the chance to play with it. Maybe you don't believe it's that real. But not having Tarmogoyf in your bug deck, I don't know. It's very surprising to me not to have it there anywhere.
I think Tarmogoyf is overrated and gets played too much. So I like the angle Anton's taking here. I'm a big supporter.
Okay.
Starts off the game with 2 deltas.
Brian has an Underground Sea. We're going to see a Misty Rainforest here as well. So, again, we saw this in the previous game. Just a little bit of draw-go action, and then the things start firing fast and furious.
Yeah, and Anton just drew a Duress, so I would be willing to bet we might see our first salvo fired off here.
As long as that Duress is forcing through something relevant, I'm perfectly okay with it. I'd be perfectly fine sitting on it, too, though.
You also might be trying to set up Snapcaster Duress next turn as a line that you might want. Or just see what's going on over there. I'm curious. The whole crowd, we want to know.
Show me. Any brainstorms? Oh, that's a brainstorm.
All right, so we're gonna hide some goodies here.
Brian looks like he's pretty land heavy right now. I see a Wasteland along with a couple other there.
I assume by the time we're waiting here, it means that we have some spell. Yes, but he is quite land heavy.
This is what I got.
It's a Goyf. Okay. So yeah, basically the downside to this play from Brian's perspective is that he had to brainstorm away spells and keep lands. Ideally, he would have used that brainstorm to help out with his mana flood a little bit.
Yeah.
But instead, he's keeping his spells. It's almost close to the point where you would put 2 lands back, let him duress something, and then shuffle away the 2 lands.
Yeah.
Brian's hand's almost bad enough where that could have been a path to consider. Which is why I believe Brian actually tanked so long there. Because normally you would just be instantaneously, yep, brainstorm, put my 2 spells back, but
yeah,
because his hand's so land heavy, it was actually a debate.
So we're going to see an Inquisition of Kozilek here from Brian Anton giving it a read. It is spells that cost 3 or less, and we are going to see a Polluted Delta sacked in response.
Gonna get another C. And now with Anton having the basic forest in play, he's very likely to be fetching for C's because he can't get wastelanded off the color now.
Yeah. So that's part of the benefit, and we're going to see
divert! Oh my goodness! Oh, I misread that on the. Oh my god, divert's an oldie but a goodie.
Can I take a look? May I divert you, my friend?
Unfortunately, it doesn't actually get to get anything because we already know Brian's hand is.
It's Lance and Tarmogoyf.
Oh, it's the Goyf. Oh, that's his Inquisition. Oh my god, it's not Duress.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Anton going back. And you can't fail to find on a reveal. So there's actually.
You just take a card that costs 3 or less. So
yeah, you cannot fail to find on a reveal. It's not like a surgical extraction where you can search the deck and intentionally leave something.
Yeah.
On a reveal from a public zone, you just have to. So.
And it's interesting because Brian could have played his land first before doing that and didn't, and now we see the Wasteland after the divert blowout, and now
a Wasteland for Anton. And Anton not using the Wasteland, signaling an expensive play in his hand. Possibly Jace, possibly Garrick, but And there's Garrick.
And there is Garrick. And we can see Brian's hand. Brian's hand is just full of lands, and an Abrupt Decay was his draw step, and it makes sense. There's really no reason to wasteland him, keep him off of lands when he has 4 in his hand.
Yeah, sandbagging that land there from Brian was a little odd because even though, it was a worst case scenario, it was divert of all cards. It could have easily been Spell Pierce.
Yeah.
So, but it's hard to have that card. Of all the cards you can have on your radar to play around in Legacy, divert.
Filthy. Ugh.
Oof.
And now we see Garrick taking over this game, but on the other side of things.
Yes.
Last game we saw Brian dominate with Garrick. This time we see Anton dominate with it. It begs the question, should there be more than one Garrick throughout these deck lists?
Maybe. I mean, for the mirror, yeah, I saw one list in Vegas at least last week that had 2. We had a bug control deck on camera, but so
we're going to see Vendilion click in Brian's draw step.
And there's 5 lands.
Yeah, 5 lands. Bite the dust from the Abrupt Decay, but Brian is I don't have anything. We're going to see a land just saying go, and we see on Anton's side he does have that promo Wasteland ready to take out Mishra's Factory, so those Wolves are still going to be able to keep getting on in.
Yeah. Brian in a world of hurt here. Another wolf.
Anton just content to sit back, has some permission in his hand, has some fetch lands, has a wasteland, just saying, all right, try to beat this Garrick. This is what you did to me last game, and I couldn't beat it, so let me see you beat it.
Dude, how foul is divert? I mean...
Well, let me ask you this question. As foul as divert was that game, do you board them out for game 3 because he's going to play around them now?
I don't know. It's a dead weight thing, right? Like how many bad cards you have. It's certainly gone down in value.
Sure.
That card was actually very valuable to us in the team sealed portion of a Team Pro Tour back in the day, diverting Alex Schwartzman's Repel onto one of his own creatures.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, it was
filthy McNasty.
Yeah, it was. I would be willing to bet he saw us nightmares about it. If I had to guess.
So we're going to see Brian here. He has a 2-mana spell, but it is a Life from the Loam.
And he has a spell Snare for the Loam.
Saying, not this time.
And Brian's facing lethal here, so...
He does have a Creeping Tar Pit that can jump in front, but I mean, obviously that is not
That's implied lethal, that's where we're at.
That's not the goal here. As you guys can't see the Garrick on screen, but it is in the top right there for Anton. He does still have Garrick Relentless pumping out the Wolf tokens. Just make sure the coast is clear. Thoughts issue.
Pretty sure he knows the hand is lands, but that's okay.
Rawr.
Wolves.
Down to 7. Creeping Tar Pit's going to jump in front, put Brian down to 1.
Oh, Anton's got Dismember in his hand. He's not even going to get to block.
Oh, okay.
We're just going to kill him.
You Dismember it.
And there's Dismember.
Right.
And there's the concession.
And I'm dead.
Garrick Relentless he's actually arguably doing more work in Legacy right now than he is in Standard. Which is sort of a weird place for a sort of slow green board control attrition-oriented planeswalker.
Yeah, it's pretty strange, isn't it? It's really strange to see it just dominate so well here.
And you're seeing Anton not even go back to the sideboard.
Nope, Divert's staying.
Yeah, Divert's there.
Now, how do you feel about that? I mean, at least the bluff of boarding out Divert is something?
Yeah, I mean, I would at least go through the box. I mean,
Yeah.
That's a ton of information to not even make him think about.
So look him in the eye and be like, I'm going to divert you again.
It's not happening.
Yeah,
It's happening again.
You are going to get diverted. Your Abrupt Decay going elsewhere.
Yeah. That
brings you back. I'm glad. That brought you back.
It was he tried to repel our Dirty Were Rat, and we sent it back to some, like an Avenwind reader he had or something.
No one even knows. You're speaking a different language. What do those cards even do?
It was the shot.
Dirty Were Rat?
The divert heard around the world.
Yeah. Even Wind Reader? That's a 3/3 for 5, right?
Yeah.
That was like the best blue common back in Odyssey. I
They
think.
made the creatures a little bit different back then.
Yeah.
Wind Reader was busted.
Yeah, it was completely absurd. You got to look at the top of someone's deck, I think, for one in a blue?
Yeah.
Or was it just your own?
It certainly was. I think it was revealed theirs.
Oh, it was both. Glenn Jones saying it's both.
Yeah.
But again, I'd like to check because what does Glenn Jones know? So if we could find out. Oh, Glenn, you were right. Congratulations.
It was reveal. I think it was reveal both because.
Yeah, you could look at either one. Yeah.
But your opponent knew also.
Yeah. 3/3 flyer for 5. Just wow. That was just the Boutros.
How do you beat it?
I don't know.
How do you beat it? It's impossible.
If you play 3/3 for 5 and limited now, that's the flying. You just get laughed at.
Yeah.
What pick you take that?
Yeah, 3/3 flash flyer is. Yeah, you cut that thing a reasonable percentage of the time, you know.
Fairies and Fairy Invaders is like number 18.
It's fine, I guess, if you had to play one, it's no big deal, but you're trying to kind of cut them.
What is a Dirty Were Rat? I know it's. I'm going to say it's 3 and a black.
Okay.
So 4 mana 2/2.
No.
No, that's not him.
2/3. Black, discard a card, threshold, +2/+2, and can no longer block. Just a really elegant design.
Just filthy rat.
It's a filthy rat.
Just a filthy, just gross rat.
I actually can't remember if it's black to regenerate or black to just do nothing. I think it's black regenerate.
Well, how black to do nothing?
To discard a card. Black
okay.
discard.
Okay. Such a dirty rat.
Yeah, I was right. Taking me back to my youth.
Oh, we have a text here from Huey Jensen saying that you can't stop that dirty rat. Huey, I know this is in your day, so I appreciate the tweet, letting us know that not one more mere mortal can stop that filthy rat.
Yeah, that card was also incredible, and that if you saw that now, there's like no chance you'd ever put it in a limited deck.
Yeah.
He was among the better black commons. Whew. It's actually unkillable. It's basically unkillable.
Yeah, unstoppable rat. As we have a Deathrite Shaman finally.
Yeah, making an appearance.
First in our 3 games here of Legacy for Brian.
And Deathrite, Fetchland and Deathrite Shaman is about the opening you would hope to get with this deck.
And there is the Shaman, seeing everything it can do. What can't it do? Taps for mana, gains life, kills your opponent, dies to innocent
dead,
blood.
Just
dead.
There's
nothing it can't do.
Would have liked to have kept that. Now,
now I can't win.
Looks like Brian's hand has Loam. I'm not positive we have any wastelands to go along with it. I assume that if we could waste him, we would just
take the opportunity.
Yeah, we would just go at him.
Innocent Blood, as you guys see on the screen, kind of old school. I remember when that one got printed. That's when I took my step into competitive Magic. That was a good removal spell back in the day.
I believe wasn't Huey the one who put the Innocent Blood Anarchist draft deck on the map back in the day?
Oh, really?
I think. What a way to just tie all the commentary together.
Yeah.
That's actually the case. Incredible. So now we have a big loam here for the 2 fetches.
So you see Brian putting one of his, card drawing engines online.
Yeah.
A unique card drawing engine, as it were.
Well, yeah. Unless he has the corresponding wasteland, there's sort of a cap on how efficient or what the upside of that card is.
Yeah.
If you can tie together with some wastelands, it could be awesome.
As we're going to see a Thoughtseized. We'll find out. We see Snapcaster Mage.
Okay. And Snapcaster Lands, so Brian needs to start loaming actually just to get some stuff in his graveyard.
Like a Brainstorm or something, just something that does anything.
And very important here, Anton played a basic island. With Brian having access to loam, it's going to be very important for him to find basics.
Yep.
Because he won't be able to function.
You see an Abrupt Decay drawn there for Brian, so Brian chooses not to dredge. Just plays a fetch land and says go, so he can at least set up Brainstorm to be able to, hide those lands and fetch away. And draws another one.
Again. It's a Garrick, I believe.
How do these guys just draw their Garrick so much? They both have one. Just a Garrick Rodeo, and they both have one copy of the card. And neither player can stop it when it's in play, and they can barely counter it.
Well, you want to draw exactly one because the other guy can't beat it or kill it. So you want one because the second one's completely unnecessary because they're already dead to the first one.
Yeah, sack it in your face. It's Garrick time, baby.
Yeah, we're gonna go for it.
Could you imagine if Auton Vendilion clicked in response to that fetch land?
Yeah.
Ugh.
It would have, yeah.
You want to talk about a dirty wear rat?
Yeah, it's no divert your repel, but that is a piece of foul action.
Not much is. Hi-ya! Is this good?
Yep.
And we know Auton has 2 copies of Spell Pierce in his deck. He also has stuff like Force of Will. Oh no. Oh, no, it's in. It's in.
Okay. All right. Is that it?
Yeah,
That
that could be it. Just 4-mana Planeswalker. You dead or my dad or who's dead? It doesn't look like Auton has green mana.
He has Brainstorm.
Looks like he has a Loam shuffling through there.
Yeah, but he's still missing green. I had to assume we had to brainstorm and find green mana, or we need to get something going soon.
Yeah, you can't let this Garrick just sit around. All right, there's a brainstorm. 2, 3.
He found a Misty Rainforest, so we got green. You can see Auton doing the little nod of his head.
Yeah,
it's back in it.
And obviously that's important too, not just for green mana, but can also shuffle away the stinkers to brainstorm as well with the fetch lands. So a pretty good brainstorm there in the main phase.
Yeah. See what he's going to throw back. I assume we're inclined to just try to throw back some spot removal that we have here.
The issue here is there any way for Auton to get a Garrick Relentless off the board outside of his own Garrick Relentless?
He has a Maelstrom Pulse in the sideboard. And yeah, Tombstalker can attack it.
All right, uphill climb.
Well, yeah, I mean, he might actually be fairly close to Thoughtseize reveals Snapcaster, Abrupt Decay, 2 lands. I had to assume we're taking Snapcaster here, given how light. Okay.
That's a little bit surprising.
Yeah, Brian has nothing to do with his mana, so the Snapcaster is.
I'm not entirely sure what that accomplishes.
Maybe he has Divert.
Oh no, not again.
Not again. Brian's already got, Battle Scars from the first one. Can't do it to him again.
Can't he? As we're going to see a Misty Rainforest here get sacked on the end of turn.
Probably find a Trop. I would be willing. Maybe a Basic Forest. He's thinking the same thing.
Yeah, going through the same thing that you're going through there. Yeah.
Eventually sells on the Forest. On the Trop, rather. I'm surprised. I probably would have gone for Forest there, given that he has. Does he need a 3rd blue mana for something?
Yeah. So we'll see if that's going to come back to bite him. I mean, it's definitely a risk, as we do see a Wasteland here.
So he actually has it set up where we can, for example, click him in his draw step, and if Brian tries to Snapcast or Abrupt Decay, just divert it.
Yeah, the ultimate punishment.
For example. Not saying that Auton does have the divert, but I feel like him taking Abrupt Decay over Snapcaster means that's where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it feels like to me.
Or I guess he could have Surgical Extraction in hand too. That justifies it as well.
Sure. As we do see, Brian does play a 6 land now, so if he does Snapcaster plus Abrupt Decay, he can actually pay for the divert.
Yeah. 2 wolves coming in.
Now, what are we going to see here? A little main phase action. I think we're sliding a Tarmogoyf in. Yes, we are. So now we're going to see.
There's Abrupt Decay.
Yep. And that's exactly what you talked about. Yeah, just Abrupt Decay, Abrupt Decay greater than signed Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
Basically.
Auton still needs to find a way to get out from under this Garrick. Although if he does, Brian's hand doesn't have a whole lot left over.
Yeah, I mean, he's got not only does he have to get underneath Garrick, he's got to take care of these wolf tokens as well. And it's very interesting. One of the things that we brought up during Game 1 is how Pernicious Deed interacts favorably with Garrick just because it doesn't kill Planeswalkers. Well, now it's like that's not even out for Auton to draw to because, again, it doesn't actually kill Garrick. It takes care of the wolf tokens, but the problem is still there.
Yeah, I mean, he basically... And there's a Thoughtseize. So now we'll see what's up. I mean, a big thing here. I mean, click if he can get it to stick is a way to get out from. To just kill the Garrick, but he still needs to find some answer to the tokens.
Yeah.
So then that requires a deed or a Maelstrom Pulse or something.
As we are going to see a Vendilion click here now in response to the Thoughtseize.
Let's see who he's targeting. Oh, he has Spell Snare in hand. That's why he left. Snapcaster over Decay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I cannot Spell Snare fast enough.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Scavenging Ooze plus Wasteland.
Yeah. And now the Thoughtseize resolves. It takes care of the Scavenging Ooze, so it's just a hand of Wasteland and nothing. And Garrick is just going to be able to keep churning out tokens here. And just going to overwhelm Anton. I don't think there's any way to get out of the situation. You know, if he does take care of the Garrick, there are still going to be 3 2/2s, potentially 4.
Yeah, it's Deed or Maelstrom Pulse. Okay. Those are the draws that he has right here that matter.
And then they come.
I don't think you can block here. You just got to take this hit.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure exactly what blocking would accomplish.
Yeah, he comes to the same conclusion.
Yeah. And there's another one.
So yeah, Anton definitely drawing live here. I mean, it's...
How do we do?
Not a very confident looking shuffle right there.
But it's a shuffle nonetheless. And that's what's important.
His hand is Wasteland plus, and there it is. There's a concession.
So Brian,
Garrick Relentless defeats Garrick Relentless 2 games to 1.
Yeah, might as well be. Brian Braun's one casts Garrick Relentless more times than Anton did. And that takes the match down, I guess. As much as he has tailor-made his deck to be able to win the mirror, it came down to actual one card and it resolving, which was Garrick Relentless both games.
I don't know. You may want to have a second copy or like a counter spell or something. I don't know. Yeah. Who knows?
Maybe another Garrick Relentless in the sideboard for the mirror. Who knows?
But Garrick definitely on display there in a way that you don't even really see in Standard. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah,
Not at all.
With Restoration Angel and Thundermaw Hellkite being huge parts of the Standard format, it's just not. It's often just quite hostile to Garrick because it comes in play, makes Wolf, and then just dies.
Yeah, and then just dies immediately. Yeah.
And Legacy doesn't have that sort of stuff going on nearly to the same extent. There's a little bit of Restoration Angel and then 0 Thundermaw Hellkite.
Yeah.
So, and you're able to protect it a little bit better with Force of Will, set it up with Thoughtseize, etc. So.